who lives in the Union and was in the presidency, Abraham Lincoln, who ran against Douglas and failed in the running, Abraham Lincoln. He earned 39% of the U.S. vote, Abraham Lincoln, but was one of the greatest presidents ever known, Abraham Lincoln, Abraham Lincoln, Abraham Lincoln, Abraham Lincoln, Abraham Lincoln.
Hey boys and girls, I'm Abraham Lincoln. I became president in 1806. I was born February 12th, 1801 in Illinois. I was a Republican and president for 4 years from 1861 to 1865. And I was also a cause of the Civil War, but more on that later. Now for the Civil War. The Civil War was a war. It was started in 1861 and ended in year 1865. The Civil War was fought between the northern and southern states. There are many reasons why this war started. Here are just a few of those reasons. Now, before I talk about the Civil War itself, let me start with some of the politics of 1848 before the Civil War. There were 3 different parties in 1848. There were the Democrats, which had Cass, who was an important member of the Democrats, and they supported popular sovereignty. Now, what popular sovereignty is, it is the majority of voters on a situation. And next party is the Free Soil Party. An important member of this party is Van Buren. Now, the Free Soil Party stood for free soil, or no slavery. They were against slavery altogether. And the third party was the Whigs, with important member Zachary Taylor. Now, the Whigs support supremacy of Congress over the president. The Whig Party had undeclared intentions on slave issues, and they were soon to disappear because they were split so much on the issue of slavery. One part of the party thought slavery should be accepted, and the other part of the party didn't think slavery was a good thing. Also, before the Civil War, the U.S. had a war with Mexico. This lasted from 1846 to 1848. Now, this war was based off of land, and which land would be inhabited by Mexico or the U.S. Now, after those 2 years, the U.S. won the war. As a result, we got the land of present-day California, Nevada, and Utah, with parts of New Mexico, Arizona, Colorado, and Wyoming. Now, this more land equaled more problems for the United States. Let me talk about a few of those problems right now. First, let me just talk about the Wilmot Proviso. As soon as we got all this land, the Wilmot Proviso was made. The Wilmot Proviso is a document making slavery not able to exist in the new land whatsoever. Now to talk about how California came into play. Tons of people rushed to California because gold was discovered there. This happened in 1849 and was known as the Gold Rush. Now, because so many people were inhabiting California, a lot of the people there wanted to be a free state. The only problem of this was the Missouri Compromise, which is the line that splits free states by slave states. California would interfere with this with half of it on the slave state side. To fix this, the Compromise of 1850 was made. This gave the North California as a free state and the abolition of the slave trade in Washington, D.C. It also gave the South New Mexico and Utah, $10 million for Texas, and a more strict fugitive slave law, which is a law that said that all escaped slaves from the South were to be returned to their slave owners. Next, I want to talk about a system called the Underground Railroad. This was led by an African-American lady named Harriet Tubman. This is a series of trails used to free runaway slaves from the South. The Underground Railroad influenced the North to pass personal liberty laws, which are laws to counter the fugitive slave law. The next thing I want to talk about is the Kansas-Nebraska Act. In 1854, Illinois Senator Stephen Douglas proposed that the Northern Territory, known as present-day Kansas, should be a state as well as the Southern Territory of Nebraska. He proposed this because he wanted to build a rail line through both territories and couldn't do it unless they were considered states. The Kansas-Nebraska Act, proposed by Stephen Douglas, also allowed both Kansas and Nebraska to decide whether it should have slavery or not through something called popular sovereignty, which again is the idea that the people vote on it and the majority wins. Many people in the North felt like Douglas betrayed them. Not only that, but many people even voted illegally. One more thing this act did was completely overturn the thing we talked about earlier, the Missouri Compromise. Everything I've just talked about includes the politics, how more land equals more problems in the Wilmot Proviso, how California came into play as a free state, the Compromise of 1850 and what the North and South got from it, the Underground Railroad with Harriet Tubman, then finally the Kansas-Nebraska Act, proposing Kansas and Nebraska as states open to slavery based on popular sovereignty. All of these things created a lot of tension between the North and the South, which helped lead to thoughts of a civil war. Now on to some of the main causes that started the Civil War. First up is a man named John Brown. He was a farmer who lived in the North state of Kansas. He believed in the overthrow of the slavery system. In 1859, Brown and 21 of his followers attacked a federal arsenal which had a lot of weapons. This arsenal was known as Harper's Ferry. He did this to try and start a slave rebellion, but instead he was captured and killed.
Let's take Harper's Ferry! John Brown, we're here for your arrest. Oh, that's Brown. I'm here to arrest you. Kill you, so.
John Brown, for your past actions at what you did at Pottawatomie Creek. And now, just recently, for raiding Harper's Ferry and killing many people who shouldn't have been killed. And trying to start a rebellion, a slave rebellion. This court hereby sentences you to death. Do you have any last words?
Slavery is an abomination, and I have no regrets.
A second cause is a book called Uncle Tom's Cabin. Written by Harriet Beecher Stowe, this book convinced people and showed how terrible slavery was in Northern eyes. This book also traveled to the UK and convinced people in Europe that slavery was bad. Harriet Beecher Stowe worked long and hard on Uncle Tom's Cabin. This book was about slavery and about how it was wrong. The North really praised this book, while the South did not like it one bit.
Hey, check out this new book I wrote. It's called Uncle Tom's Cabin.
Okay, I'll take a look at it. Thank you. Have you read this new book by Harry B. Gustav from the U.S.? It's Uncle Tom's Cabin, and it's about slavery.
No, I haven't.
A third cause is the Dred Scott decision. Dred Scott was a slave who traveled with his owner to live in a free state, and then after a while traveled back to live with his owner in a slave state, the slave state of Missouri. Dred Scott argued that he should be free since he lived in a free state. The judge disagreed, which ultimately meant that slavery could now exist anywhere at all. Just like the Kansas-Nebraska Act, this decision also went against the Missouri Compromise. A fourth and final cause of the Civil War is the election of 1860. This is where I come into play. First, before the election of 1860, there was a presidential election of 1856. This is when the Republican Party was created. The Republican Party nominated a man named John Fremont. Now, he didn't win the election. This is good, though, because first, he wasn't really a good leader. And second, if he became president, the South would be ready to split up and start a war with the North right then and there, and the nation wasn't ready for a civil war just yet. Now on to 1858, where the great and mighty Stephen Douglas versed me, Abraham Lincoln, in the Senate election. We had a series of debates, and me, not being as noticed at the time, lost while Stephen Douglas won. However, this helped me gain recognition from people and got me noticed. 2 years later was the presidential election of 1860. In the running was me, Abraham Lincoln, with the Republican Party, Stephen Douglas with the Northern Democratic Party, John Bell with the Constitutional Union Party, and John C. Breckinridge with the Southern Democratic Party. In the end, I actually won the election with support from the North. I won only 39% of the vote out of everyone in the United States. That means that the other 61% of people didn't even want me there. But since I became president, the South didn't like that and decided to form its own nation called the Confederacy. So the U.S. is now split up into the Union in the northern states and the Confederacy in the southern states. So what's next, you might ask? Well, let's find out after these commercials. Why, hey there, Confederate soldier.
Hello.
You know who I am?
You are the Jefferson Davis man.
Jefferson Davis, that's right.
Yeah.
I got some good old hardtack right here.
Oh, yeah, I love hardtack. It's
You
probably,
want some?
I would love a piece of hardtack. Thank you.
All right, hardtack, best stuff there is. I love this stuff.
No, like that.
Hardtack. Army food.
Go Union! They fight for freedom and to abolish slavery. The Union Army's there. The Union. Historically accurate heroes. The Union Army's there. It's the Union Army against Lee and Davis, fighting to free the slaves.
You're free now.
They never give up, they're always there, fighting for the freedom of every man.
The Union.
Historically accurate heroes. The Union Army's there.
The Union Army is the name for the Northern forces. Its purpose, to defeat the Confederacy, the name for the Southern states that want to secede to form their own nation and preserve slavery.
They'll never give up, they'll stay till the fight's won. The Union Army will dare.
The Union.
Historically accurate heroes. The Union.
All right, soldiers. How are the plans to take down the Confederate forces doing?
Sir, the Anaconda plan so far is working well by blockading the southern ports, and we are successfully cutting the south in two. This seems to be working much better than their plan to attack us on their land and then advance on us.
The South's economy is struggling because of it. Also, King County isn't as important as the South thought it was.
Just what I like to hear. The big important matter is this battle about here to start in Gettysburg.
Sir, a victory here could allow us to turn the tide.
Correct, soldier. We need to make sure this doesn't end up like the Battle of First Bull Run in 1861.
That was a sad day. Stonewall Jackson's forces took down our men from a cover point behind a wall. The Confederates even thought they won the entire war that day.
Well, we showed them in 1862 at Antietam. That was an extremely bloody day, and so many men died on both sides in one single day. But we won, and after that, the Emancipation Proclamation was passed to free the slaves.
Earlier this year at Chancellorsville, we lost to the South, but luckily Stonewall Jackson fell by the hands of one of his own men.
Why do we have to be in such a bloody war with part of our own nation? It isn't right.
This has been a war ever since they attacked Fort Sumter.
I know, it doesn't seem right, but we have to continue and win.
Vans!
Ah! We took Gettysburg!
Yeah!
Hello, I'm Dr. Brown. I'm here to show you some of the finest amputation gear you can get around here. This is like your main tool. This is for slicing off your big limbs when you got spare time. But if you're on the field and you need something quick, this is what you want because you can just bust right into the bone and hack and bust and hack and just keep going. And then you got your standard giant knife for cutting through things. And your this is just for slicing straight through people's flesh. And then you got this little thing for tinging on their body to find where the bullet is. And then you got your poker, eyeball scoop, opener, bone cracker, piercer, your hemorrhage machine. You go and you stick it right into their brain like that and you pop it out. But if you want these tools, you can have all of these beautiful tools. La 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 la, la 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 la, reconstruction. La 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 la, la 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 la, reconstruction. I love my plans in the Freedmen's Bureau. La 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 la, la 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 la, reconstruction. I'm here to talk to you about Reconstruction. There were three main plans. There was Abraham Lincoln's plan, which had only 10% of the population of the southern states vote to come back into the Union. And this was by far the best plan for Southerners because it had almost nothing bad would happen to them. But then you had Andrew Johnson's plan, and that was mainly targeted at punishing all rich Southerners, plantation owners, generals, anything like that. They'd be fined. They wouldn't be allowed back into the Union. But the states could, if they paid if people who had less than $20,000 paid a small fee, and they denounced all wanting to have slavery. But the third and most intense plan was from radical Republicans in Congress, and they wanted to split up all of the South into military zones, and each state or multiple states would be controlled by a military group enforcing all of the laws that they would put into place, like not having slavery. And it's very difficult to break up and start breaking the law when you have someone pointing a gun at your face, working for the army. After Reconstruction was all planned out, none of it even happened. They did none of the plans, and they just went out and argued about which one they should choose through the whole time they had the opportunity of reconstructing the whole entire country. It ended up being a complete failure, and the only things that worked out for the entire country was the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment, giving black people all of the rights that white people had. But in return, a lot of southern states made Jim Crow laws to make sure black people couldn't have any rights, and they couldn't do anything like they had been. And they had sharecropping, where the slaves were almost back into slavery, but only getting a small amount of money.
The causes, the causes, the causes, the causes, the causes.
Events and battles, the 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 events and battles.
The causes,
Reconstruction,
and battles, events and battles, the events and battles, the events and battles, the events and battles, the events and battles.
This has been the Civil War. Thank you for watching, boys and girls.